You might have noticed your Facebook ads suddenly tanking. Higher costs, weird data, or campaigns that used to perform just suddenly stopped working. You're not imagining it, because the Meta Andromeda update just dropped and it's completely changed how the ad platform works. This update has quietly broken a lot of ad accounts and most advertisers don't realize why. But don't panic. In this video, I'll break down exactly what Andromeda changed, how it's affecting your campaigns, and what you can do right now to fix it before your ROAS keeps dropping. Over the years, I've helped over 100 ecom brands scale using Facebook ads that actually convert, even through big algorithm changes like this one. I've already tested new setups that are working really well with Andromeda at the moment, and I'm going to share them with you today. And with that said, let's jump right into it. So, what exactly is Meta Andromeda? In simple terms, it's Meta's completely new ad retrieval system, the brain that decides which ads get shown to which people and when. So this isn't just a small algorithm tweak, it's a fundamental shift in how Facebook and Instagram decide what ads you actually see. Meta built this from the ground up, and we first heard about it back in December 2024. And the reason they did so was because their old system was drowning in the massive influx of AI generated content being created every single day. Their old ad retrieval system was like having a librarian organizing books by hand, while Andromeda now is like having a supercomputer that can instantly match the perfect book to the perfect reader at the perfect moment. Well, let's talk about the rollout. And it happened between April and July of 2025, and it's the biggest shift we've seen in Meta ads since the iOS 14.5 update back in 2021. And I'm sure for a lot of you, you remember how brutal that was for ad accounts. And quite frankly, I think this is on the same level. And what I was seeing through Q3 was a lot of brands coming to me telling me they had massive performance swings and asking me to take a look at what might be causing it. So they had CPMs up, their customer acquisition costs were climbing, and they just had general decline across a lot of their accounts. So if you've been scratching your head wondering why your winning campaigns suddenly stopped performing, well, this is exactly why. But why the complete rebuild from Meta? Well, here's what forced their hand. Generative AI is exploding. We're seeing thousands more ads uploaded every single day than ever before. Tools like Midjourney, ChatGPT, content creation has gone absolutely insane. But for Meta, it wasn't just about this additional volume. You see, they realized that they needed to change exactly how ads worked because the whole advertising landscape had shifted dramatically. And for us as advertisers, to understand how to work with Andromeda, we first need to understand why it exists. Andromeda can do three things that the old system simply couldn't handle. And the first is it processes millions of ad variations in real time. So we're talking exponentially more ads than the old system could even dream of handling. Secondly, it's delivering true one-to-one personalization. So instead of targeting, for example, women aged 25 to 45 interested in fitness, it's matching the exact right ad to the right person at the right moment. So it's being done on an individual basis. And because of this, it's rewarding meaningful creative diversity while filtering out all of this generic cookie cutter content. So it's essentially raising the bar for creative quality across the platform. And this is why understanding Meta's Andromeda isn't optional anymore, because it's literally the foundation that all of your ads run on. Because here's the thing, the old creative approach is dead. The way we used to do it was simple. We would upload lots of creatives, let the Meta algorithm find one or two winning pieces of content, then skew all of our ad spend towards those winners. Then we just make tweaks, some small iterations on those winning ads, and that was it. That was our playbook finished. But that simply will not work anymore. And the core reason for this, well, it lies in the principle of entity IDs. Entity IDs are key to understanding how Andromeda actually works. See, entity IDs are how Meta groups together ad creatives it deems to be visually similar. And here's the bit that's crucial. Ads that share the same entity ID are going to share the same audience, the same delivery, and the same learnings. So this means if you have a low number of net new entity IDs in your account, you're limiting your overall audience reach. You're essentially competing against yourself for the same eyeballs. So with that in mind, what does the term visually similar actually mean? It could be two images that have slight variations in headlines, or it could be pieces of UGC content with the same creator wearing the same clothes in the same environment. But let me show you exactly what I mean with some examples. So starting off with what Meta would consider visually similar. So we have the same image, different headline, or as I said for UGC, it might be the same creator with multiple videos in the same setting. So you can see here, our image is exactly the same, but our headline has changed from shop now to up to 25% off. So these two ads are likely going to get the same entity ID, meaning they're going to be fighting for the same audience. Whereas on the other hand, these two images are going to be deemed visually different. The headline has stayed the same, but we've changed from a product flat lay to a lifestyle shot. So this is likely going to give us a new entity ID and deliver to a completely new audience. So the difference isn't about tweaking ad copy. It's actually about the visual elements of your ads. So what exactly are these new rules that we simply have to play by? Well, the first is generic messaging simply won't work anymore. These broad one-size-fits-all ads that used to perform, they're absolutely dead now. Secondly, basic iterations on winning ads won't help you scale your ad account. You can't just tweak a headline and suddenly expect your account to just grow massively. Third, and quite interestingly, it's something we've seen across the entirety of our client portfolio, is that ad spend is now being distributed more evenly throughout ad accounts. We're not seeing ad accounts that are propped up with 80% of ad spend being directed to one ad creative. It simply isn't happening to the same extent that it used to back in 2024 and even earlier. And the big rule that we simply have to play by is that Meta now rewards ads that speak to individual personas and address their specific situations. Because we know right now that true creative diversity is the only path to succeed. So how do you actually create true creative diversity that Andromeda rewards? Well, it starts with real customer insights. You need to dive deep into reviews, testimonials, customer feedback, uncover why people actually buy and what problems your product solves. From this, then you can start to identify your key avatars, your distinct customer types. So next, you want to define these avatars deeply. I like to give each one of them a name, flesh out their world, what they do day to day, what frustrates them, what do they aspire to be, what emotions drive their decisions. Because now what you're trying to do is you're trying to move away from surface demographics to real emotional motivators. From there, develop core angles for each avatar. Ask yourself, why would this specific person buy our product? What transformations are they seeking? Each avatar should have 2 or 3 clear ad angles that really reflect their unique perspective. And the more time you spend doing this, identifying unique angles for unique personas, the better your performance will be in the long term. So now you want to translate those angles into ad concepts. So we're going to combine our persona and the angle we've chosen, alongside with the core emotional desire that we're speaking to, and finally decide on the best ad format for delivery. And what's really important here is we want to produce quick turn creative, so in a format that your team can manage. For a lot of people, this is going to be static ad creative because it's the easiest to produce. But then once you've found a winning combination, you can then take it, test it on more expensive, more expansive formats like video, UGC, GIFs, carousels, things like that. And what's so important, and 90% of advertisers overlook this, is that you have to align your funnel. So when an ad performs well, make sure your landing page and your offer match that avatar and the angle. There's no point having an avatar of a 45-year-old female and then showing her a landing page with a 20-year-old male on it. It just won't convert. This goes back to the core principle with Andromeda of don't dilute with generic messaging. Don't try to appeal to everyone at once. And lastly, when you do find a winner, your iteration approach has to be different than it was before. You simply cannot change the headline and hope for the best. Instead, you're much better off experimenting with format changes. So if you've seen a static ad perform well, take that angle, take that persona, and create a UGC piece of content. So if you've seen a static ad perform well, take that angle, take that persona, take that emotional desire, and use it to create a really solid piece of UGC around those core principles. Another thing we do quite often is we're looking at an angle that's performing really well. And quite often that angle will perform well across multiple personas. So if we see an angle work really well with a single persona, we'll then try to identify what other personas could that angle work quite well on also. And then if we feel it's worth testing, we will test that angle to another persona. But remember, we need to make sure our delivery, our emotional desire, all links back to that persona. We're speaking to one person. Don't be generic. Don't think you can take a message from one persona, translate it exactly to another, and it'll just work. You have to speak to the individual. Andromeda delivers ads to the individual. You, as an advertiser, need to speak to the individual. Now, I know all of this sounds overwhelming, and for you, it might sound like the end of the world. You don't know where to turn. Your ad account performance is getting worse and worse. But I actually think Andromeda is a good thing. And here's 4 reasons why I actually believe that to be the case. Firstly, it's forcing brands and marketers to deeply understand their customers and their pain points. So you can't have any more lazy advertising. But why I think this is actually a good thing is that you can extrapolate a lot of this information across the entirety of your marketing efforts, across all the acquisition side, your retention side, your social, your organic, things like that. I think it's so important to understand your customers. It's the key to growing any business. So if Andromeda is forcing you to learn more about your customers, I actually think it's a good thing. The second thing it does is it's actually encouraging you to go out and try to target more of your total addressable market. And if done correctly, this will actually lead to a much more significant potential for growth because you're appealing to a much wider audience than previously would have been the case. And this is a controversial one, but for me, I believe that Andromeda is going to lead to less choppy performance inside ad accounts. We're not going to see these big swings up and down like we once used to. And we're even seeing that with our own clients at the moment. And the reason I think this is the case is that we don't have that one ad or two ads that are propping up the 80% of our ad spend in the account, because previously the case when they would have reached creative fatigue, well then the overall account performance would have fallen off a cliff. But because we have 6 or 8 different personas and they each have 2 or 3 different ad angles and we're finding winners in all these different pockets, well then our ad accounts aren't prepped up as precariously as they once were. So for me, I'm seeing right now much more stable performance now that we've got a true handle on Andromeda. And I think this is going to continue into 2026. So there's a lot to be positive for. And finally, and I absolutely love this, it creates a higher barrier to entry for success, because you can't just type in a single prompt into a generative video AI tool and expect it to produce some piece of content that Andromeda is going to love, because it simply won't happen. And that's been the lazy way that people have been taking in the last 6 and even 12 months. But the people who actually understand the shift and the people who understand their customers, who take the time to actually understand the fundamentals of Andromeda, I think are going to have such a leg up on the competition that it's going to really create a moat in 2026. I think some brands are going to absolutely fly in 2026 and some are just going to slowly burn and die. Now, even if you know what Andromeda changed, that still won't save your results. You still need the right setup, ad strategy, and back-end tracking system to stay profitable long term. If you want me and my team to help you rebuild your campaigns for the Andromeda era so you can keep scaling without burning ad spend, check out the link below and book a free strategy call with me today. And once you do that, check out this video on the new way to run Google Ads in 2026 so you can add another growth channel to your arsenal.